Okay, very good evening to all of you. I'll just do one last round of audio check before I proceed. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, cool. All right. Prashant, I would also ask you to keep on addressing people's queries on the chat. Somebody wants to know how long the webinar, etc. So I have already addressed that question. So Prashant, whatever I have already addressed, please keep on answering in the chat. All right. Okay. So in today's session, we'll talk about some of the most common mistakes that students do on the SAT. So what happens is that because of these mistakes we often end up calling them silly mistakes. So yes, you can think of them as silly mistakes. They are highly avoidable, and if a student is little bit more careful, he or she will be able to avoid these mistakes. And though it's easy to call them silly mistakes, what happens is that because of these so-called silly mistakes, students end up losing 30 to 40 points on the SAT, which is a lot. So if you are aware of these mistakes right from the beginning and you take the necessary steps, you are not going to lose out on those 30 to 40 students, which most students end up missing out on. So that's the whole agenda of today's session. As I mentioned earlier, we'll try to wrap this up by 7:15. I noticed that some of you are not from Jamboree, and I saw a few questions about Jamboree. So this is a little bit about Jamboree. So we started out in 1993, and that's why we are the oldest and largest study abroad organization in India. The key here is a study abroad. We only train for programs that are required for studying abroad. So we don't do IIT, JEE or CLAT or DU, JAT. So we don't train on those exams. We train on a very limited set of exams required to study abroad. We do we have a very comprehensive program of admissions counseling also, where we help students choose the right programs, do their applications, visa, everything. Okay. We have 39 physical centers in 22 cities and 4 countries. So I saw a question on the chat asking about where is this company, like situated out of. So our headquarters are in Delhi, but we have centers all across India. We have centers in Nepal, UAE, and Singapore. Our courses are also available online. In fact, a lot of our courses are currently being delivered online. But even before that, since 2014, we have a very strong digital learning platform as well. So when the lockdown happened, it did not, it did not take us a lot of time to transition from classroom teaching to physical teaching. Right. Okay. Some data points that we are extremely proud of, that we have got 30% of our students end up getting a 1450 or more. We have been getting the best SAT scores in India since 1993. Now that I have told you about Jamboree, a little bit about me. So my name is Orzuma. So I have been with Jamboree since 2007. So when I joined in 2007, so there where Jamboree had 4 centers, and today, I have been a part of Jamboree's growth story, and I have worn many hats. I used to head the admissions counseling division of Jamboree. Then I moved on to operations. I also had the verbal academic team of Jamboree, the entire content building to training. So, and I had Jamboree's expansions, franchising efforts, etc., etc. Since I have been around since 2007, as I told you, so probably that's why I wear all these hats. So, and now that I have addressed what the question about what is Jamboree and who am I, now we proceed to the rest of the session. Little bit about the SAT exam, right? So the SAT exam, I noticed that some of you mentioned that you would like a little bit of information about the SAT exam. So very briefly, SAT has two, you can think about them, 2 sections, math and verbal. So there are subsections obviously, but 2 main categories, verbal and math. The math is 9th, 10th level math, couple of topics from class 11, but that's about it. And verbal is reading comprehension and grammar. So again, class 8, 9 level English. So the verbal section is subdivided into two sections. The exam starts with a reading portion, right? So which has 52 questions to be done in 65 minutes. Then the writing portion, 44 questions to be done in 35 minutes. And it is scored on a scale of 200 to 800. Then the math portion. So after you're done with the verbal portion, the math portion starts. So the first math section that you get is slightly easier. So you are not required, you are not allowed to use the calculator for this section. You have to do 20 questions in 25 minutes. Then the last section is of the math is a little slightly difficult. Therefore, you are allowed to use a calculator. Here you will have to solve 38 questions in 55 minutes. Again, the math section is separately scored on a scale of 200 to 800. So if you see, the 200 to 800, so this is the 16 SATs out of 400 to 1600. The lowest you will get is 400. Even if you get everything wrong, you will get 400. And the highest that you can get is 1600. Now, separately from this, there is another portion that this is the essay section. The essay is separate. The essay score does not count towards this 1600 score. The essay, you have to write one essay in 50 minutes. This is the last part of the exam. It is scaled on a scale of 2 to 8. Okay. I would request everybody to hold on to your questions. First, let me deliver whatever information we had planned. So let me first deliver the information that we had planned for today, and then we'll have a Q&A session. So I would request everybody to listen and not type your questions in the chat window. It will not be possible for me to deliver my information and answer your questions at the same time. Thanks everybody. All right, so this is the SAT structure. So just keep in mind, before I go to keep in mind this thing, the 44 questions in 35 minutes. So you have got less than a minute per question. 52 questions in 65 minutes. Just keep in mind the time limits and the number of questions. If you can take a screenshot of this if you want to. So during the session, you don't have to take any notes, by the way. As I already told you, the session is getting recorded and the recording will be uploaded on our YouTube channel. So this is the SAT exam structure. Now, what are the mistakes that students do? Highly avoidable mistakes and very easily avoidable mistakes. So the parents, those of the parents who are here in today's session, just keep an eye out for these and make sure that your children don't commit these mistakes. The most common mistake that students do is that they don't take the mock test correctly. As in any paper pencil test or any test, taking full length mock test is a very, very important step. But taking the full length mock test correctly is even more important. Very often what we see, the students don't take the mock test the way they are supposed to take. Therefore, they get very high scores in the mock test, and then in the actual SAT exam, they get lower scores. The first step, the first thing is that students have to stick to the section-wise time limits. In the previous slide, you may have seen that the SAT is not a lump sum time of 3.5 hours. That in 3.5 hours, do everything. It's not a lump sum time. Each section has a specific time limit, and you have to stick to those time limits. So the reading section has 65 minutes. The exam starts with the reading section. Then there is a mandatory break of 10 minutes. The writing section then 35 minutes. Immediately after the writing section, the math without calculator section happens, which is 25 minutes. Then another mandatory break of 5 minutes. Then the maths with calculator section, the difficult math section happens. Then there's a break of 2 minutes, and then the essay. Now, what children do often is that they struggle with the reading section. Like almost 90% of Indian students, they struggle with the reading section. They are not able to finish on time, etc., etc. So what they do is that instead of taking the break, they take 75 minutes for the reading section, right? Then they move on to, you know, writing and math, you know, this section is very easy for them, so they are able to finish this in like 10-15 minutes, so they are able to make up for the time, right? So instead of sticking to section wise time limits, students usually do this in a lump sum thing, that they will of course finish it within time. If the exam is starting at 10 o'clock, they will finish at 1:30, but the section wise time limits that they don't adhere to, right? So so therefore they get inflated scores. And those of you who have started your SAT preparation, you would know what I, you know, when I'm saying that the reading section is the one that most students struggle with, right? And in this section itself, if you are giving yourself 10 minutes extra, so your you know, your chances of getting a good score on the verbal will go down in the actual SAT exam. All right. So not sticking to section wise time limits is one big mistake that students do while taking mock tests. And how can you ensure that this does not happen? So just be the invigilator, do invigilate the test, right? Like an actual invigilator. If you are too busy, you can like, you know, assign a sibling or somebody from your house staff, you know, to work to be the invigilator. Students, they may not be that good at managing the time, you know, themselves, right? Okay. Any question related to this? Please limit your questions only to the information on the screen. Does anybody have any question related to the information on the screen? If you have a question, you can raise your hand and I can give you mic access. So if you're raise your hand only if your question is relevant to the information on the screen. If not, then please don't raise your hand. Yes, Anvit, what's your question? Anvit Khade, you can unmute yourself. What's your question?
Ma'am, actually, I'm Anvit's mother. Can you please elaborate on essay section exactly how the question is formed and how they're supposed to attempt?
Right. So for sample questions, etc., you can go to collegeboard.org. So it's a paragraph that they have to analyze. Not a paragraph,
Okay.
it's a 2-3 paragraph thing that they have to analyze.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so moving on. So this is a mistake that you should avoid. Again, continuing in the same category of not taking the mock test correctly. So on the SAT, you get a test booklet and an answer booklet. The answer booklet has OMR sheets. So it's a bubble sheet kind of thing. So while taking the mock test, what students do is that there's just, you know, they just tick on the question paper itself. If the answer is A, you know, so they will tick on A on the answer on the question paper itself. They don't fill out the OMR sheet. So what happens is that on the SAT, on the actual SAT exams, they end up losing time. So if they are able to finish it within time at home, they are not able to do that, you know, in the actual SAT exam, because often when they practice the test at home, they don't bother to fill out the OMR sheet. They just do ticks on the question paper. So please ensure that you don't do that. Always use an OMR sheet. The OMR sheet is again there available on the College Board website for downloading. SAT, on the SAT exam, you are not allowed to use a pen, right? So you can use pencils, and only these two types of pencils. You are allowed to use a 2H or HB pencil. Very often students, you know, actually whenever students take the SAT exam, our own students, almost everybody in the first mock test that they take with us, we see that they will write the essay with pen. No, even if they use the pencil for the OMR sheet, they end up writing the essay with pen. Then we have to go back and tell them that you are not allowed to use a pen. You cannot write the essay with pen. You have to write with pencil. So now that is one more adjustment. Kids, you know, they probably don't use pencils so extensively to write. You know, once you are in class 9, 10, 11th, you don't use pencils that extensively. But on the SAT exam, you are not allowed to use pens. So Whether it is marking the OMR sheet or writing the essay, get into the habit of using pencils. So what happens if you, like at home, if you use pens, and then on exam day if you have to use pencils, then there's that just one adjustment that makes a big difference. On exam day you want to minimize the number of surprises, right? There should not be anything new. You should have everything that you are familiar with. In the math section, where you are allowed to use a calculator, very often we see that our own students, in the first couple of mock tests, they end up using the parents' mobile phone calculator. But that is not allowed. You have to use a calculator. A regular scientific calculator would work, right? A regular calculator would work. You don't need a hi-fi calculator. A regular scientific calculator would work. But do not use the mobile phone calculator. If you do not have a calculator, buy it before you start taking the full length mock test. On exam day you should not be handling any equipment that you are not 100% familiar with. One of our students, what she did is that she needed a new calculator. She bought the new calculator 2 weeks before the actual SAT exam. So she was not 100% confident or 100% familiar with the calculator. And on exam day, it just took a couple of extra minutes, or every question couple of extra seconds, and then she was not able to finish all the questions on the math section. So that's highly avoidable, right? If only she had continued with the calculator that she had, or if only she had bought the new calculator sooner, this could have been easily avoidable. So please, if you don't have a scientific calculator, purchase one. And you should definitely have it before you start taking the mock test. Don't go into the exam hall with equipment that you are not 100% familiar with, right? So this is what we mean by not taking the mock test correctly. All these things you have to take care of while you are taking the mock test itself. Okay, next mistake that we see with our students, that they don't fill out the OMR sheet correctly. This is a very, very common mistake. So on the answer, and this is just nothing but carelessness, right? So let's say in question number 1, the answer is C. So they will pick C in the question paper, but while marking out on the OMR sheet, what they would do is that, just for your information, this is what an OMR sheet looks like, right? And you have to kind of mark it, right? So what they will do is that, question number 1 is C. So by mistake, they will fill out B. Now, these are very, very silly mistakes. So why this happens is that students, they first, question number 1, 2, 3, 4. First, they will solve it in the question paper. 1 is C, 2 is C, let's say 3 is D, 4 is A. And then they will pause and they will start filling out the OMR sheet at the end of the exam. I have seen students do that, that they will first do the questions tick, tick, tick on the question paper. Then towards the end, they will start filling the OMR sheet, so, and that, when you are in a time crunch, when you have just got 1 minute to go, and when you're just copying, okay, this is C, this is C, the next is D, so you may end up marking something wrong. So please avoid that. So those of you who are students who are listening to this, make sure that that you fill out the OMR sheet properly. The correct method to do it is that, let's assume that this is the question paper. Okay, let's assume that this gray portion is the question paper. So in question number 1, let's say the answer is A. So yes, you tick A in your answer paper. Of course, you do that. But at the same time, simultaneously mark A in the OMR sheet also. 2, let's say the answer is C. You mark C in the question paper, and then mark the in C in the OMR also. Do side by side. It's, even if it's taking you 1 second or 2 seconds extra per question, it's totally worth it. Losing marks because you marked the answer wrongly on the OMR sheet is like, that's something, I mean, you will feel very bad about it, right, at the end of the day. So so please, don't do that. In fact, after every 10 questions, pause and see. Question paper, it's A, mark A, okay, fine. Question paper C, marked C, correct. So after every 10 questions, pause and review. You don't want to lose a point just because you marked the OMR sheet wrongly. Okay. So this is a very important point. Parents also please keep a note of this. When your kids, move to taking the online test, move to taking the full length mock test, make sure that they are doing this. Now again, in the category of, filling out the OMR sheet incorrectly. In math, in verbal, all the questions are multiple choice. There will be 4 options, A, B, C, D. One of them is correct. In verbal, all the questions are multiple choice. But in math, there are some questions where you have to write, you have to solve and write the answer. So let's say in this, question number 16, the answer is, so on the SAT, you can write 1 by 2 if the answer came as 1 by 2. Or you can do as 0.5. Both of them are correct. So another advice is that if you're getting the answer in fraction, leave it. You don't have to convert it to decimal, right? Don't spend those couple of seconds extra converting to decimals. If the answer is 7 by 3, leave it. You don't have to convert it to decimal points. Both are correct on the SAT exam, right? Now let's use this example. Let's say the answer is 1 by 2. Now if you see how to fill this type of questions is one big problem with students. They fill it wrongly. So you can either fill it like, say if the answer is 1 by 2, right? So this is for you to write down like 1 by 2 so that you know that you are not making mistakes. So 1, so go down and find the right bubble for 1. This is 1, right? By, so this is the by sign. So second is by, right? And third thing is 2. So in the third column, go and find 2, right? So this is how you have to do. Or again, so if you see, I started out with the first term, but if you go like this, 1 by 2, this is also correct, by the way, right? Now in this case, 1, this is 1. This is the by sign. And this is the 2 sign. So this is also correct. Both are correct. In this case, my last column is blank. In this case, my first column is blank. But both of them are correct as per SAT. Now, if you have like, but if you do like this, 1 by 2, you fill out 1 for by. Instead of this, you go with this and 2. Now, this is wrong. Either you leave the first column blank or the last column blank. You cannot leave something in the middle blank. So there should not be any blanks, right? So this is how you should fill out. Now let's say 0.5 now, 0.5. If in this case 0.5 is also correct, 0.5 is also correct, by the way. Let's say that you want to fill out 0.5. So you can have the 0 here, point here, 5 here, right? So 0 is this, you fill this out. Point is here, you fill this out. 5 is here, you fill this out. So this is correct. You can also leave the first column blank and do this 0.5. Again, you find 0. This is 0. This is point. And this is 5. This is correct, right? But if you do like, here, that 0.5. So 0 here, point here, and 5 here. So now this is wrong. So filling out the OMR sheet correctly, extremely important. You'll be surprised, by the number of students who make this silly mistake and lose out on points. In math, if you get, most Indian students get 800 out of 800, by the way. But if you make 2 or 3 this kind of silly errors, then you will end up with a 780 or 770 in the math section, and you don't want that, right? Okay, so I see some questions. Soumyadeep, SAT is a paper pencil test. It's not a computer based test, right? And then there is Sanobar wants to know, do we have only 9, 10, 11 maths? It's 9, 10, 10th primarily, only 1 or 2 topics from class 11. Praveen, your question is, are we allowed to move from our seat in the 5-minute, 2-minute break? Yes, you can. You can move from your seat. You can go out of the exam room, go to the washroom. You can do all of that during the 10-minute, 5-minute, and 2-minute break. You can do that. We would not recommend you to leave the room in the 2-minute break because you may not be back on time, but everything else, is fine. Charu's question is there any problem if we don't take rest and continue writing? I don't know. I didn't understand your question. What you mean by that? Again, Charu's another question. After marking one answer, we can't change it. Yes, you can change it. You are marking it with pencil, right? So you can always erase it. If you have time towards the end, you can always revise and you can always correct your answers. Okay. Sundaramurthy, what's your question? And please limit to the information we have shared till now.
Yeah, you have just, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, yes.
Yeah, can you please demonstrate how to write 0.5? You said we can write either 0.5 or 0.5.
Yeah, so 0.5 you can have like this,
Okay.
the point here.
So this is also right.
This is also right, the 5 here. But you cannot write here like this. This is wrong.
Oh.
You can either, so this is correct, this is correct, this is correct.
Oh. I don't quite get why 18 is wrong while 19 is right.
Well, that's what their rules are,
Okay.
To be on the safer side, go with 0.5, but if you have to do 0.5, then either you can leave columns at the end or at the beginning blank.
Okay.
Not both ways. Yeah.
Oh, I see. I get it now. Thank you.
Right. All right. Thanks. Okay, moving on. I hope this is clear. Do you have any questions related to this? So Charu, yes, in the essay also you have to use pencil. I've already mentioned that everything on the SAT exam, has to be done with pencil. So Ishita Bhalla wants to know, one of the answers is 6. So what do you do? Right? Yeah. So again, as I said, you can, if the answer is 6, so you can either write the 6 here. You can either write the 6 here, or you can write the 6 here. So you can leave columns towards the end blank or towards the beginning blank. Writing a 6 here or 6 here is not right. Okay. So somebody wants to know if PSET is useful. So I mean, it's a very loaded question for Indian students. It's, you don't get anything out of it. It's better to take the actual SAT. So Dr. Padma, I hope your question is relevant to what we have discussed till now. You can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello. Yeah. Is there a negative marking?
No, there is no negative marking. So you can just
0.06. Yeah, and this the example that you just gave about writing 6. So can the student write 0.6? Would that be acceptable?
No. That is acceptable. But why would you take the pain of marking one more bubble?
Okay.
You were talking about saving seconds, right? So
yeah. Okay.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Sure. All right. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks. Okay. So Madhur, your question is, do we have to carry our own calculators? Yes, you have to carry your own calculators. College Board will not provide you. So you have to carry your own pencils, erasers, sharpener, calculators, all your own. Again, Madhur, your question is, which calculator should be used? Or a standard or regular scientific calculator is fine. Somebody, Hard Shah, wants to know, can I give the exam in the US? Yes, you can give the exam in the US. You don't have to do it in India. Ananya, see, carrying 2 calculators, I would say that you just go with the update the battery the night before and just carry one. Don't carry stuff that you'll get confused with. If you were worried that your calculator will run out of battery, just change the battery the day before the exam. Okay, moving on. The next mistake is that students don't take care of time management. So when I talked about the SAT exam structure, you probably noticed that all of it is time management, right? It's, if I give a question paper to any Indian student, class 9, 10 or 8, from 8 onwards, any Indian student, and I give the person 1 day to solve it, everybody will get a 1600, right? So the SAT becomes difficult not because the concepts are difficult, but because it is a timed, it's a timed exam. So that's where the problem is. So and students, in my experience, what I see is that they solve lots of questions during the practice stage. They would attend classes, they will solve questions, but they don't start doing the questions in timed manner. So they would take their own time and get correct, and they will be all very happy that, oh, I got all my questions correct. If the teacher has given reading comprehension homework, let's say, they will take a lot of time and get everything correct, but that's not right. You have to, after half the course is over. So Jamboree students, those of you who are Jamboree students, you after your 7 verbal classes, after you have to, or 7 math classes, you have to then move to doing the questions in a timed manner. You should not just try to get the questions correct. You should try to get the question correct within the time. So now how should you do this? And this you should start doing even with your actual SAT also. So you should budget 12 minutes per reading passage. So on exam day, or when you're taking mock test also, so when you get the question paper, so if you are starting the exam at 9 o'clock, let's say, let's say you are starting at 9 a.m. and the first section is the reading section, and the first passage, let's say, has 11 questions, right? So 9, so let's assume that you will start solving the questions at 9:02. So here, against the question number 11, write 914. Then let's say the second passage has another 11 questions. So against question number 22, write 926. So now when you are solving the question at question number 11, your passage should be done, and see whether you are at the 914 mark or not. If you are at 912, good, but if you are at 916, so your target should be still to reach question number 22 by 926. So this is like the passage 1, this is passage 2. So divide every passage, give yourself 12 minutes per reading passage. And if while doing your reading section, sometimes the passages are quite difficult to understand or very heavy language, right? So read 1 or 2 sentences. If you are not able to understand, skip that entire passage and go to the next passage. Once you are done with some passages that you are comfortable with, you can come back to it later. Your confidence will also get a booster. But if you keep struggling on the first passage, and not, then you are not doing yourself any favor. You are struggling with time. You will end up struggling even more with time. So if any reading passage, after the first few lines, if you are not understanding anything at all, skip and go to the next passage. Don't struggle with it. Once you're done with the rest of the passages, come back to it. So start putting these things into practice right after your 7 classes, right after you're midway through your course. In now writing, you might have noticed that you have got even lesser time. You have got less than 1 minute per question. So in writing now, you have to give yourself 8 minutes per passage. So when you are doing homework or when you are practicing, so you will of course always practice per passage. So give yourself 8 minutes. Okay, so not more than 8 minutes. So this you have to do from the middle of your preparation itself. Don't wait to do this time management towards the end, So usually students start thinking about time only when they struggle in the mock test. That's very wrong. That's already too late, you have to start managing your time. You have to start taking these steps right in the middle of your SAT preparation. Once you are comfortable with the concepts, once you are clear with the concepts, all the concepts you have gone through, when you are not starting to practice, not taking full length tests, but starting to practice content, just put this into practice. It is clear what I mean by this? Okay. Now in the math, see in math there are like two different sections. One is slightly easy and one is slightly complicated. So maintain a time log for math. So in a day, if you did, let's say if you did 10 questions, of math, 10 questions of math, and let's say you took 15 minutes, right? So number of questions, time, and time per question, right? Maintain a log. Make sure that you are falling within that time. For the math section also, there is an amount of time that you have per question. Make sure that you are falling within the acceptable range, right? So maintain a time log for your math. Now this, please don't do this time thing in the very beginning, or you will get demotivated. First you have to ensure that you know the strategies. First you have to ensure that your concepts are clear, then moved on to this time thing. If you started too early also, then there is this downside that you may get demotivated. Okay, all right. Anybody any questions till now? Yes, Kamini, what's your question? Please limit your questions right now to the information that we have shared till now. Yes, Kamini, you can you can unmute yourself. No. Okay, anybody else has any question regarding whatever we have discussed till now? Yes, Charu, what's your question?
Ma'am, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Ma'am, how many times should we need to read a passage? 2 times is enough for it?
Only once, please. Not 2 times. You don't have that kind of time.
Means we have to read it only once.
Yeah, read it only once, and then when you read a question, come back to the relevant portion and reread. The first time also, when you are reading, just scan through the passage, understand the layout of the passage. Are you a Jamboree student?
I haven't registered yet. Actually, I was thinking about it.
So, anyway, so when you are reading the passage for the first time, you should just keep an eye out for the important keywords, the layout of the passage, etc., etc. And because you have to solve at least 11 questions for that passage, right? So when you are solving questions, you just go back to that portion, reread that portion. So don't invest like lot of time in reading the passage. It's not possible for anybody to memorize anything or remember anything, right? That's one of the strategies that we teach in class, that please don't trust your memory. Don't try to memorize anything while reading the passage. The safest way is that you have to come back to the passage for that specific question.
Okay, so means we have to read once, and while we read the question, we have to come back to it to get the correct answer.
Yes. So when you are reading also, you don't have to read line by line every word. You have to kind of give a quick read and keep and make a note of the layout of the passage. What information is in what portion, right?
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Because it's a paper pencil test, you can underline stuff, etc. in the passage, so it's easy. Yes, Arushi, what's your question?
Isn't it better? I mean, it's a question. Will it be better if we read the questions first and then go to the passage so that we have an overview of what they're asking?
Yep. You can, in a passage, usually there is lots of extraneous information. So don't read the entire question, just read the question stems. For especially for a passage which you are finding difficult to read, something that you're totally, completely not aware of, and you are just very heavy reading for you. If something is becoming very heavy reading for you, it helps if you quickly read the question stems, not the answer options. You know what I mean by just the question body, not the answer. And then yes, when you are coming across that thing in the passage, just read it with more focus. But
Okay.
do that only if you are only if that passage is becoming very heavy for you to comprehend.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions about whatever we have discussed till now? All right, Avni and Asmi, you seem to have a lot of question about the types of questions. So I would recommend that you go to collegeboard.org. Prashant, can you type in the URL for collegeboard.org? So if you go there, you will get sample SAT questions for reading, writing, math, everything. Prashant, can you do that?
Yeah, I'm doing it. Yeah, give me a second.
Right. So yeah, in fact, share with all the College Board official website link, share with everybody. So on the College Board website, you get sample questions of SAT, PSAT, AP. You get like all types of exams and all types of sample questions, right? So I'm seeing a question about IB or ISC, which is helpful for SAT preparation. It's a very difficult question, you know. I have seen some CBSE board students, do very well on the SAT. I've seen IB or IGCSE board students also doing well on the SAT. See, Indian students by and large they do well in the math section. That's what I have seen. Even the humanities students, they are still okay with the math section because the math level is 9th, 10th level. In the reading section, like universally, the Indian students struggle. Indian students who have studied in India, because in the Indian, whether it's a CBSE, ICSE, or whichever board it is, not much focus is given to analysis. The critiquing, all of that is not in the curriculum, I'm assuming, right? So the reading section, Indian students struggle. There, students who are well read, I mean, right now also there are a couple of students who I'm dealing with. So they're very well read. Their hobby is reading. So they have read lots of novels. They're extremely well read. So well read students who have an ear for the language, they tend to find the verbal section easier. But it's not mandatory for somebody to be well read. These exams are actually not they are for everybody. It's not for a specific category of students. I hope that helps. Okay, another question is that if I finish a section before time, can I move to the next section? This is a very interesting question. So the answer is no. If you have finished a section before time, you can revise that section itself, but you cannot go on to the next section. The invigilator, you can go to the next section only when the invigilator would allow you to. All right. Okay, let's move on. Okay, the another, this is again very common mistake. It comes from the fact that in India, most of our admissions processes are like dependent on one big exam. IIT is like you have to, this is the whole JEE thing. For medical is the one big exam. So in India, getting admissions is like dependent on a couple of exams. That's it. If you have to get admission for a BSc or BCom, it's your 12th marks or some entrance exam. So this is something we struggle with, both students as well as parents. So they don't think about the rest of the profile. There is this misconception that if you get a good SAT score, you are all set. But that's wrong. That is not true. So the admissions criteria, so you should be, from the very beginning, you should be aware of the admissions criteria of universities, right? So SAT is whichever you decide to take, so it's just one of the parameters. Just because you get a very high SAT score will not mean that you will get admission. So you have to start working on the rest of your profile also, right? So essays and letters of recommendation, they are part of the application form of universities. They carry a pretty high weightage. And in top universities, if you are targeting the MIT, Stanford, UPenn kind of colleges, then there will be interviews also. So you have to work on your speaking skills, on your interviewing skills, how presentable you are, etc., etc. So it's It's a very holistic admission process. Whether you apply to the US or Singapore or Canada or UK or even the Indian universities which accept SAT. Any university which accepts the SAT as the admissions criteria will have a holistic admission process where everything will be taken into consideration. But somehow I face this, you know, a lot, when that the Indian students operate from the mindset that if I get a 1500, I will get into an Ivy League. So that's not correct, right? If the rest of your profile is weak, then even a 1600 out of 1600 score is not going to help you. So please start working on the rest of your profile also, right? Do you have a decent academic record? Is your class 11 marks much lower than your class 10th marks? If yes, then that's a big negative, right? What kind of extracurricular activities do you have? Are they diverse enough? And are you in a position to showcase it to the admissions committee? For example, you know, your hobby may be singing. Maybe you are a trained singer also. But how are you going to showcase it to the admissions committee? Do you have it online somewhere? Do you have a YouTube channel? I mean, how are you going to showcase it to the admissions committee? So having good extracurricular activities is also not enough. What you have to think is that now in the online format, how do I take it to the admissions committee? You cannot send hard copy application material to universities. Everything has to be there in digital format, right? So you may be a very good writer, you may be a very good painter, but do you have a blog? Do you have any place where all of that work is there so that you can share it to the admissions committee, right? So think on those terms. Very often we see that students take the October SAT, then they come to us, the deadline of the university is in December, and we suddenly realize that the child has not done anything anything, you know, to showcase his profile. There are no blogs, there are no you know, YouTube channels, there are no like certificates, so it becomes very difficult for us, right? So please, parents, now this is a place where you have to take the lead, because students are busy and they have limited time. So if your child has a history of, let's say, music or painting or any kind of extracurricular activity, have it ready in a digital format. You know, if you can have a website, if you can have a blog, but be in a position to send those URLs in the online application form so that the admissions committee can see what his or her achievements and accomplishments are, right? So please don't ignore this part. All right, so so these ultimately, why are you taking the SAT exam? You are taking the SAT exam because you want to get admission. So you should know what the admissions criteria are. Meeting just one of the admissions criteria is not good enough. You know, you have to meet all of them, especially if you are targeting the top 20 universities. The competition is really, really crazy in the top 20 universities. The Ivy Leagues like your Yale, Harvard, MIT, their acceptance rates are single digit, 8% acceptance rate, 9% acceptance rates. So you have to do whatever it takes to enhance your overall profile, you know, not just like SAT, school marks. You know, most Indian students and Indian parents are like, they do well in these first two parameters, but this is where they struggle. All right, so that's all from my end. If you have any questions, you can raise your hand. I can give you mic access. In the meantime, if you don't have any questions, you can feel free to log out. I hope you found this session useful. If anybody who is not a Jamboree student, if you want a demo SAT class or a profile evaluation with one of our admissions counselor, where we can look at your rest of your profile and let you know what kind of SAT score would work for the colleges that you have in mind. So if you want any of that, you can leave your number in the chat window. Our team will, you know, get in touch with you. So anybody who wants a demo SAT class, or anybody who would want us to evaluate your overall profile and let you know where you stand, you can just leave your number in the chat window. In the meantime, those of you who don't have any questions, you can feel free to leave. And if you have any question, then raise your hands. Okay. Yes, Harsha, can you hear me?
Yeah, I want to ask if my university is confirmed that I want to take admission in this university, should I give IELTS or TOEFL? Which one should I give?
It depends on the requirement of that university. So if the university accepts, either TOEFL or IELTS, then it's up to you. You can take either TOEFL or IELTS. You have to check the
Which
admissions.
one would be easier?
Come again?
Which one would be easier?
Actually, both of them are. I mean, they test you on the exactly the same parameters. And if US is your destination, then TOEFL has wider acceptability. So IELTS is not accepted in all the universities, only in about 70% of the universities in the US. So if US is your primary destination, then you should take the TOEFL.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Dr. Rajula, what's your question? Yes, Dr. Rajula, you can unmute yourself.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. Good evening, madam. I am my son attended that program, but due to some reason, he is not able to attend that program. So I am listening that things.
Right.
So he want to give that SAT examination and he want to take admission. Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Actually, we are planning to join for your coaching institute for the SAT.
Okay.
For what is the fees for that?
So actually, I am not aware of I'm not from the sales department per se, so I'm not aware of the fees of the different cities. But if you leave your number in the chat window, somebody from our team can call you and let you know.
Yes. Okay.
Please leave your number in the chat.
Okay. Thanks. Okay.
All right. Thanks. Yes, Aditya Mishra, what's your question?
Hi, my question is, what about the essays?
The application essays, right? University application essays.
No, miss. The SAT essay itself.
Okay.
Will the time that we get from the test go into the essay as well, or is it different, or what?
It will go into that. As I mentioned earlier, the last 50 minutes of the SAT exam is for the essay.
Okay, and that time, say for the people who aren't taking the essay, they get to leave immediately.
Right. Yes, that is why it is so after that math with calculator section, there is a 2-minute break. So anybody who is not taking the essay can leave in that 2 minutes, and those who are taking the essay will continue.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Right, so there is another question from Olipriya Chakraborty. What's your question?
About the academic record that will be considered, will like only class 10 and 12 be considered, or will it be a very holistic approach and we have to show our results for a variety of classes?
It's a class 9th, 10th and 11th and 12th midterms. So when you apply, you will be in class 12. So you will not have your class 12 final marks. So therefore, class 9th marks, 10th marks, 11th marks, and class 11 midterm marks.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Yes, Sanjeev. Sanjeev, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, good evening. My
Hi.
question was that do you take SAT subject test preparation as well?
Yeah, we do provide SAT subject test preparation as well. Hello. So yes, Sanjeev, we do provide coaching for SAT subject test. If you would need more information about any particular SAT subject test, leave your number and write that, looking for subject test in physics or math or whatever it is in the chat, and somebody from my team will get in touch with you.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
So,
All the best. Nayana, what's your question? Nayana? Yes, Nayana, you can unmute yourself.
Ma'am, for joining the medical school in Harvard, when we need to apply the admission, ma'am?
So the admission deadline
Hello?
is in the beginning of December. So when you are in class 12, so in the beginning of December, you have to apply.
Means I was thinking that from starting we will apply, means from 11th only we'll start applying, means I was thinking
No,
that
not in
we
11th.
will
You have to apply only in class 12. But the SAT exam students take in class 9th, 10th, 11th, because the score is valid for 5 years. But when you apply to the universities, you have to be in class 12. Rashi Bhayani, what's your question?
Hi, so can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, so I am currently in class 12 right now, and I want to apply for the next semester. So that is the 2021 fall semester, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
So what is the best time for me to take the SAT exam?
So you should take the exam latest by October of this year.
Okay.
The deadlines, as I said, would start from December. And if you are targeting the top universities, some of them, they may have an early decision deadline of November 1st. So if you're targeting the top universities, you may have to take the SAT subject test also. So your plan can be that, take the SAT by October, then subject test you can take in November, so that you are on time to meet the deadlines.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
All right. Yes, Shalini, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi. So my question is, to prepare for the SAT let's say you want to score 1500 score, or above, what's the minimum time in terms of weeks and hours per day that you need to put in for a 1500 or above score? Thank you.
All right. It's a very subjective, if I don't know what kind of, it's subjective means, a bright child sometimes takes a month, month is more than enough. Somebody who is struggling with the math section or the verbal section may need about 3 months. So it's extremely subjective. So I don't know whether you are a Jamboree student or not. What you can do is that you can attend a free demo class and see the content, whether how much time it will take you to handle, right? In my experience, the verbal portion, students do need to put in some time, in terms of practice. So I would say budget about 2.5 months, if you budget around 2.5 months, you should be fine. But again, if you are a very bright kid, you may be able to do that in 1 month also. If you are struggling with any particular section of the exam, it may take you 4 to 5 months also. So, so that is the range. I hope that helps. Raj Pataskar, what's your question?
Ma'am, I have registered for the December 5 SAT. My question is, what will happen if the SAT gets cancelled?
So we are in talks with College Board almost on a weekly basis. Currently, they are they are all ready to conduct the exam on August 29th, right? So and it's a high probability that it will probably go on. It will probably get conducted on August 29th. But to answer your question, what will happen if it does not get conducted? Then they may move online. We don't know. They have not said anything right now. Right now, they are not preparing to move online. They are hopeful that they will be able to conduct the August 29th SAT. So definitely December 1, they should be able to conduct. But then again, very the situation nobody can predict right now. Again, I know it's probably not a very useful answer, but the last conversation that we had with College Board, so they are ready to conduct it on August 29th physically.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Yes, Jayant, what's your question? Jayant, do you have a question? So those of you, if you don't have any question, feel free to leave. Also, if you need us to do your profile evaluation, or if you want a free demo class, please leave your number in the chat window. So Jayant, probably you are not able to hear me, so I'll move on. Tanisha Raghav, what's your question?
Ma'am, what about the letter of recommendations?
So that you are supposed to get from your school. Your
Oh,
school
all right, ma'am.
counselors. Yeah. Ankit Kumar, what's your question?
Hello, ma'am. I am audible.
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
Actually, my question is really different from today's topic. Actually, I don't aware about the extracurricular activities. Meanwhile, I know about that in my class one. That's why I am not able to build my profile. Can you please suggest me some extracurricular activity that can I do right now in COVID-19 situation to build my profile?
Okay, see, I cannot recommend any extracurricular activities to you because I don't know what you are interested in. I mean,
Actually, my passion is to read and write, and I am good in my sketching. I got
So-
certificate in my school.
right. So in
So
your
how
case,
can
the
I
easiest-
demonstrate to that
Right.
in my application?
All right. So in your case, the easiest thing to do would be to have a blog. So if you go to Google's blogger, blogspot.com or WordPress, they are all free blogging sites, right? So you can create
Yeah.
your blog, and it's very easy, not very difficult. You can create your blog. You said that your hobby is writing, so you can post your writings there. You said that your hobby is sketching, so you can put up your sketches there. So I would strongly recommend that you create a blog, and that is something you can do right now also because it is online.
Is this sufficient to get a chance of admission, or anything I can do apart from this?
Again, we would like to talk to you in detail. So if you can leave your number, we can call you, because see, we don't know anything about the rest of your profile. If you are a very good student, extremely bright student, topper in your class, etc., etc., and if you end up getting a 1500, 1550-ish, and then with this a couple of things, you should be able to get into a top 20, 30 university.
Actually, the problem is that, ma'am, I am living in very rural area, and I studied my entire whole 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th class from a small school where I never got any opportunity or any event so that I demonstrate my talent around the world. That's why I'm not able to make my profile. That is my concern.
Right. So
How can I demonstrate it? I can convey through my essays in the application, or should I focus to my extracurricular activities in that meanwhile time?
See, it depends on what kind of colleges you are targeting and what
I
your
am targeting to Ivy colleges, and I talked to the one student from MIT who says that, yeah, it can be good if you convey through your essays.
Yes, you can convey through your essays, but what will you convey through your essays? That's the whole point. There should be content to convey also. So I think, Ankit, you start off with the blog to showcase your sketching talent and writing talent, and then get a high SAT score. So if you're a bright, if you're a bright student, if you have got good IQ, then you will get
No,
a good.
ma'am, I am not a bright student. I am an average student. I got second rank in my school, 10th. So
Okay.
that's also a problem.
Okay, so getting into MIT, if you feel that you are not a good student, then it may not be a good idea to go to a college like MIT where everybody is a bright student. What will happen is that you may not be in the top 20-30% of the class. So you may actually be at the bottom of the class, and that will impact your graduation record. So students who are thinking about certain universities should also keep in mind about that. You should go to a college where your chances of ending up in the top 20% of the class is very high. Then ultimately you are doing a degree so that you will probably get a job, or so that you can do a master's degree, do a PhD, whatever it is. So your graduation marks, your bachelor's degrees marks will count. And for you to be able to get high marks in your bachelor's degree, but you should go to a college where you have a chance of being in the top 20-30% of the class, right? So please be very judicious, do a very sincere self appraisal before finalizing any university. Okay. Yes, Anvit Khare, what's your question?
Yeah, again, ma'am, I'm attending on his behalf because he has some other classes. I'm his mother. A very good seminar. I mean, you have covered almost all the points. I have one query regarding these scholarships and the average fees. If you can just give some idea, what is the fees range for Ivy League colleges and top after Ivy League colleges sector? If you can just give idea about the fees as well as other expenditure and the chances of getting scholarships.
Okay,
That is one question. And another question is, I'm not sure. I heard from few of the friends, kids, they went abroad for some went after SAT, some went after GRE. So after SAT for bachelor's course, when they complete, they have to come back to India and again go back for the post graduation again, like after some break or something. Is it so? So these are my two questions.
Okay, for the first question, we had done a detailed session on that. Prashant, can you post the recording of the undergrad funding webinar in the chat window? So your questions.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, please do that. So we had done a detailed session about the scholarships, the fees, what you can do to improve. All of that we had done a detailed session a couple of weeks ago. So my colleague would post the recording in the chat right now, so you can go through that. About the next thing, if you want to do a master's degree or a PhD degree right after your bachelor's degree, you don't have to come back to India. You can apply while you are in the final year of your bachelor's degree. So, Nayana, what's your question?
Ma'am, if we stay in hostel, like we should achieve other curricular activities, no ma'am.
I didn't understand your question. You stay in hostel?
Yes, ma'am.
So in your hostel, in your school, there are no extracurricular activities?
Sri Chaitanya.
I didn't understand. Can you say it again?
Ma'am, I'm living in Sri Chaitanya. I mean, my hostel is Sri Chaitanya. So it should be like sports. We should be like bright student, no ma'am. In sports, there are no sports, no ma'am.
No, you don't have to be bright in sports. Not everybody is bright in sports. I'm sure your school has some activities, maybe some math Olympiad. I don't know. Their schools have lots of activities.
Yes, ma'am. We have exams.
Yeah. So probably you can participate in those. Schools usually conduct MUNs. Schools have, painting competitions, drawing. You probably, I don't know. Students in hostel also, some of them learn to play music, etc. So whatever is offered in your school, you don't have to do anything special.
Okay.
I mean, if you're in a hostel, so you'd have a genuine limitation. So that is fine,
Okay.
So that's all for now. If you have any, as I mentioned earlier, if there is anything that we can help you with, whether if you want a demo class or a profile evaluation, or if you have any other questions, you can leave your number in the chat window. I hope we were able to address some of your questions. Thanks for attending, and all the best. I hope you got some useful information. Thank you.